There can be no shortcuts to peace, U.S. President Barack Obama said in his address before the United Nations General Assembly. He added, ultimately, it is the Israelis and Palestinians who must live side by side. It is Israelis and Palestinians, not us, who must reach an agreement on the issues that divide them. Obama made a 20-minute speech devoted to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. He continued by saying that Israel deserves recognition. It deserves normal relations with its neighbors, and friends of the Palestinians do them no favors by ignoring this truth, just as friends of Israel must recognize the need to pursue a two-state solution with a secure Israel next to an independent Palestine. America's commitment to Israel is unshakable, said Obama. Israel is surrounded by neighbors who have waged repeated wars against it. Children have been killed by rockets fired at their houses and suicide bombers on buses. Israel is a small country of less than 8 million people and looks at a world where leaders of much larger nations threaten to wipe it off the map. Recalling his speech last year before the General Assembly, where he called for Palestinian state, he declared the Palestinians deserve a state of their own. A genuine peace can only be realized between Israel and the Palestinians themselves. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu thanked U.S. President Barack Obama for opposing the Palestinian statehood bid, saying that he wore the badge of honor for insisting negotiations are the only way to achieve peace. Speaking at a joint press conference, Netanyahu said the Palestinian bid through channels other than negotiations is bad for Israel, bad for the Palestinians, and bad for peace. Obama welcomed Netanyahu to the U.S., saying Washington's pursuit of a just and lasting peace is compatible with Israel's needs. Obama was scheduled to meet with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas later in the day, hoping to persuade him to drop the statehood bid and return to the negotiating table. Thousands of Palestinians took to the streets in the West Bank in support of the statehood bid at the United Nations. The Palestinians have planned a series of support rallies in the West Bank this week, which will peak on Friday at the hour President Mahmoud Abbas speaks before the United Nations. In the afternoon, a number of isolated violent incidents erupted with stones thrown at Israeli vehicles near Har Hadar outside of Jerusalem. Shots reportedly fired at an Israeli vehicle near Karnei Shomron, and stones thrown at the Jewish community in Hebron. In Kalandia, north of Jerusalem, Palestinians clashed with Israeli soldiers. In Ramallah, thousands flocked to the Yasser Arafat Square in the center of the city, where a higher banner with the words UN 194 hung. The words refer to the Palestinian aspiration to become the 194th member state at the United Nations. In the past weeks, Israeli and Palestinian officials have met a number of times to discuss the demonstrations and coordinate efforts to prevent them from becoming violent. Syria accused Israel of posing a threat to the world because of its huge military nuclear arsenal. The accusations came a day after Jerusalem criticized Damascus for stonewalling the United Nations probe into its atomic activities. The exchanges between the two countries occurred during the annual member state meeting at the International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna. Syria's ambassador Bassam al-Sabah told the conference that Israel is the only country that has a military nuclear arsenal outside the realms of international control. The head of Israel's Atomic Energy Commission, Shaul Chorev, lashed out at Syria for refusing to allow UN inspectors access to its nuclear sites. Mentioning also Iran, Chorev said, regimes that brutally repress their own citizens have no hesitation when it comes to non-compliance with their legally binding obligations under international law. Israel has never confirmed nor denied having nuclear weapons. The International Monetary Fund has said that countries in the Middle East and North Africa continue to pay a heavy price due to the Arab Spring turmoil. The countries hardest hit by the unrest will be considerably weaker. Syria's economy is expected to shrink, Tunisia's economy is showing nil growth, and Egypt's GDP is expected to grow a quarter of the pace it did last year. High oil prices continue to power the Gulf economies, who will begin to feel the impact of slower world demand for petroleum next year. The IMF continued by saying that the situation could worsen amid a slowing world economy and ongoing political upheaval in the region. In its World Economic Outlook report, the IMF said that the political turmoil has seen risk premiums rise and private financing in tourism decrease. Further intensification of the political upheaval will only serve to exacerbate the economy in the region.